Welcome back. As we told you in the beginning of our program, we'll be bringing you feature stories of your local communities.
In our first Focus On segment, we take you to Winfield, where we talk to Park District President Chuck Beggs, who describes how one man's dream turned into another man's pleasure.
Winfield is known for its traditions, one of which is a strong sense of friendly cooperation and community spirit. A vivid example of this spirit is a new park in the heart of Winfield. Chuck Beggs is president of the Winfield Park District. We asked him to tell us about the park's beginnings.
Well, back in 1981, Mr. James Woods had approached us to see if we would accept the park as a donation. And at that time, we agreed to it and could see the potential of it becoming a beautiful park.
With the land in their possession, the Park District still was faced with the challenge of turning a debris-laden lot into the park they envisioned.
It was, at that time, loaded with underbrush, fallen down trees. There was a large pile of debris in the middle, broken blacktop, concrete, and just loaded with weeds. We then looked it over and decided what we could do, mainly just to clean it up and make it a presentable piece of property. So with the help of the board members and some of the volunteers in town, we went ahead and cleared the property of the trees and then brought in heavy equipment and leveled it off and hauled away a lot of the debris.
Now the task at hand was to transform the cleaned-up lot into a park which would not only be a place for recreational activities, but would also reflect the heritage of Winfield.
I think in Winfield we've always had a tradition of a lot of volunteerism, and I think this is one example of it. I think the towns that want to get things done that are small can get them done by doing it the same way we have.
Now, as president of the Park District, you certainly had a lot of input into this project. Who are some of the other people involved in this, and what did they do?
Well, the board members that were involved were Clem Milder, who was vice president, Walter Raskuska, who is treasurer, John Anderson, and Jesse Felix. They have spent many hours, as I have down here, laying the sod, preparing the area, the planning of it. We have spent many hours at meetings. John Fraser, who was the carpenter who built the gazebo, also spent much time down here helping us both in putting in the electrical work and the water. There were kids in the community that came down and volunteered time to help us put it together.
What about the effect that this park is going to have on the community of Winfield?
Well, we really originally felt that the park would have a good effect to the people and the community. We are finding that it is having a tremendous effect. We are seeing people now walk down the street and pick up pieces of paper laying on the side of the street. It's put a pride in Winfield into the community, and it's something that is a thrill that's hard to describe in words to see that happen, especially to someone who's been in the town as long as my family has, and many of the other people in town. To see that pride, it's wonderful.
You've got this facility now. What is going to be done with it as far as any specific activities in the future?
It's mainly for people to be able to just come down, sit and relax. But we do feel that it will be used for having band concerts. There will be, at Good Old Days this year, band concerts on Sunday, September 16th. Will also be the dedication day for the park.
Residents of Winfield now have a new place to relax and spend a quiet afternoon. But more than that, this park pays tribute to the spirit of the people who make Winfield unique.
Looking at it now, viewing this park, how do you feel about it?
It's been a thrill. You get only maybe one time in your life that you get a chance to do something like this, and I was lucky enough to be able to be part of it, and it's been fantastic. The taxpayers are really have to be congratulated too, because they're the ones that allowed us to do it and put the funds forward.
Wasn't that a beautiful park, Scott?
Well, not only was it beautiful, but it's inspiring to see through the efforts of the residents how a small town like Winfield could create such a nice place to spend a summer day.
You know, speaking of summer days, let's go to our man.
Gwen, don't say stuff like that in the press. I didn't wear my ring. It's a cannon. Well, it's a good thing.
I think it belongs to my wife. Vince, are you taping? Yep.
In the bottom of it? Is it dry down there? Oh, yeah. We walked on there. Yeah, we got about 5. Size of one table. 3-quarter or more. Wait, how deep can they dig in the bottom of that pond without inside? About 2 feet. Judges.
Break bread over
I'm not sure we have enough time.
I thought you left. I tried, but I got the door open.
You know, it's really weird, and I'm not going to say this at all. I say with
Kathy wanted me to tell you that anybody who hasn't signed this apron for Charlie, it's got a little roast on top there. Something to remember us by. Anybody that hasn't done that, if they want to do that, maybe now, and if they'd like to go to the restroom or come back and whatever, we could do that, or we can do it when it's all through, and we'll get a few things like that done. We'll get started with this cooking.
he's got to the point now where that
Anybody who has a sign, sign.
deal with it.
Well, first off, the committee, whoever the committee is, says we should welcome all you people. Martha called me about a month ago and said something about we ought to have something for Chuck. And I said, I thought we could probably get 8 or 10 people together. And then they put out this notice that they were going to roast him. So I think that brought out the crowd. It's, so it's as long as you're all here, you might just as well get a shot at it. One of those things. We need your help. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, those of us who served on the board with Charlie got remember him as being a fairly long-winded speaker. Sometimes that's putting it mildly, in fact. Dick Murdoch one time made a motion. In fact, we passed it that we'd be all done with all our meetings by 9:30. In fact, remember that, Dick? We were going to be done by 9:30. We didn't even get done that night by 9:30. And a lot of times it's been 11, 12, so forth. Well, anyway, tonight we're going to let Charlie talk again, one more time. But he's going to do it before anybody else says anything. Now he has 20 minutes. And I want you to remember, it's just 20 minutes, Charlie. That's all you got to talk. And I know that that doesn't seem like long to you, but to us sometimes it seems like a eternity.
You make it 10.
But you don't have to worry about it because Martha is going to time it. She's got the timer right there. So it's all yours, Charlie, for 20 minutes. Now go.
Well, just to let you know, I think last Wednesday the meeting went to 12:30, was it? Something like that. So obviously there's a few people. Ready? Jeez.
Now that's 20 minutes, Charlie. We had people that would come to a board meeting and ask if their taxes were going to go up. And he could talk 20 minutes on that. Now, who doesn't know their taxes are going to go up? You know? Anyway, so much for that, Charlie. You're through with that one. He was trying to think of how long he wants you to talk about for 20 minutes. That's short.
Be fun.
Anyway,
I was just trying to cut it.
cut it. All right, that's the first time. Kathy asked me if I would tell some stories, if I could think of some that I should tell about Charlie. And so I got some notes together here and I got some ideas. But then I start looking at these tonight, you know, and Lee's here, so that takes care of these four. I can't tell those. Charlie and I used to play racquetball together. At least that's what we told Joyce and Lee. So we hadn't better tell any of those stories, had we, Charlie? And I got some more here, but Charlie's mother's here, you know. And we got to be kind, but when your mother's around, you really shouldn't say such things. And we used to talk about contractors quite a bit. You know, the people we hired to do it. I know we can't tell those stories because Joe Bird's here tonight. And he'll never work for us again if we tell him what you used to say about those guys. So anyway, that's what happened to all those stories I had. But I did decide that I should, there's something I should do along this line. And so I called one of Charlie's more recent acquaintances, a guy by the name of Stan. I wanted to get a story from Stan, and I got it, but I can't tell that either. We're going to have those who have volunteered to do something or other and get started now. We're trying to keep this short for Bud Justice because he's nervous, I can tell. And we'd like to have Joe Montalbano read the letter she has from one of our ex-commissioners. Would you do that now?
Well, really, I'm here to represent Marilyn. She called me up and she says, Joe, you remember years ago people used to get us mixed up? And I says, what does that have to do with anything? And she says, well, I would like you to go and read this letter for Chuck because that was the most special time in my life, so here goes. Thank you for inviting me to be there tonight. But for the past several years, I've been a practicing vegetarian vegetarian, so meat has been banned from my life, thereby making a chuck roast very inappropriate. Seriously, I would love to have joined you, but a previous engagement and the 100+ miles between here and there are both working against me. The prior commitment is a gift of tickets to the Houston Rodeo, that's where they live, which is not something a vegetarian enjoys either. Allow me a brief moment to talk about the Winfield Park District. It has been near and dear to my heart for all the years of its existence, regardless of where I've lived. I was a member of the original steering committee that worked very hard to establish the district. At one point, I had briefly moved to California, but within a year's time, I returned to the work of the committee. Of course, Chuck, Clem Miller, Dick Murdoch, and Jim Young gave me a hard time about this long absence, but they were quick to forgive me when I agreed to resume my secretarial duties, since I was the only female on the committee. Remember, this was back in 1978, those ancient pre-women's lib days. I mentioned this little bit of history only to set the stage for what I want to say about Chuck Beggs. He has had such a positive influence on my life since those good old days of working on the steering committee, and then on the board with Chuck as president. I admired him as a leader for one big reason. He faced issues square on, as they would say here in Texas. He made good decisions about spending a lot of excess time debating the issues and studied every minute. Did that make sense? I'm sorry. He faced issues square on, as they would say in Texas. He made good decisions without spending a lot of excess time debating the issues and studying every minute detail. In other words, Chuck was not a fence sitter. He was a man of action, and he kept us moving forward, growing and stretching to reach even higher goals. With Chuck as leader, nothing was too difficult to do, and no committee member escaped Chuck's hard driving ambition. Why, I remember the last night I spent in Chuck's garage painting a district storage cabinet. What Chuck and his wife Lee slept. Somehow, Chuck made me feel that painting this cabinet that night was the most important project on earth. and I must get it done before I think about going to sleep myself. He had such ambitions and dreams for the Park District that they couldn't all fit inside of him, so they spilled over onto the rest of us. What a motivator he has been, and what a wonderful contribution he has made both to Winfield and to the surrounding area. I must tell you how overwhelmed my family and I were when we came through Winfield several years ago during the Christmas season and saw the town park gazebo all a twinkle with little festive white lights. As I looked on, I couldn't help but feel certain that Chuck had played a role in creating this spectacular sight. It was at that moment that I felt proud and lucky to have had the opportunity to work on a project with Chuck Beggs. I hope that all of you here tonight feel proud to know this man too, and realize how lucky the town of Winfield is to claim him as a resident. In conclusion, thanks to the good people who planned this tribute to Chuck, and I wish all of you a very fun evening. Chuck, both my husband, Larry, and myself thank you for your dedication, and not only to the Winfield Park District, but to the community and its residents as well. Finally, thanks, Chuck, for showing me the qualities of a good and effective leader. I am Marilyn.
Besides, she left town, you know. She had to put up with a lot of this stuff, like the rest of us. Now, the staff has a little tribute they want to make, I think, too, so let's get on with that, shall we, Kathy?
Cool.
Chuck, we did have something else prepared, but we had to clean it up because of our distinguished guests here and everything. I hope everyone can hear, but what we're going to start is we want you to use your imagination a little bit and go back to 1977, okay? We're going to Winfield, 1977, maybe it was fall. Kids in the street trying to play ball. A few people, maybe 4, said we think that Winfield deserves more. Moffett, Nillis, Siebert, Stewart, and Young, Murdoch, Peralt, Christofek, and Beggs, just to name some. A campaign they did start because they believed in their heart that the best park district in the world, they must start. Excuse me. Start they did when the voters agreed that the Winfield Park District they surely did need.
Parents came in with a child or two and asked if we could start a preschool. And now we needed toys and tables and chairs and a roof of our own to cover our hair. Now every morning, whether rainy or sunny, the staff comes in to earn their money. We play with the kids, we type all those letters, we cut all that grass, and you say, do it better.
Pick up the garbage, and go kill those bees. Drag the fields, and go plant the trees. Directions and orders, we followed them all, just so that the kids could come and play ball.
Murdoch, Young, Millis, Waldy, Felix and Milder, Justice, Anderson, Riskuska, Kimball, Harold and Pohodich, Sylvester, Ingram, Canuco, Prosen, Diak, Stubbits, and Miato. It's tough to run commissioners' names, even though I know I got them. Another order that was given to us, start a senior group. Now they want a bus.
Still?
We needed more land and more money too, but a referendum vote was split exactly in two. We checked and we counted, and when we were through, we found we had won because of an error by 2.
But to develop and build, your bills must get paid, so the money we needed just made taxes get raised. Some unhappy voters, they screamed and they shouted. This April they voted, and board members they outed.
Now we come to this point in this Viking joint. Some will sing all their praises in silly rhyming phrases, except for this part, because it comes from our heart. Through all of the years, we've shared laughter and tears, and Chuck, a truly good commissioner is what Winfield got. Now jump on the grill, because the charcoal is on.
Thinking about some of those good old days as Charlie and I talk about it. You know, Charlie, I live right across the street from Charlie, and some of you people who live in the neighborhood can appreciate this. He's a great guy to have for a neighbor, because the day gets dull, you walk over and you say hello, and a half hour later you can go home. If you really got time, you'll say, how's business? And that takes an hour. But if you got all day, it's just simply, how are things on the park board? And then that's it for the afternoon. But back when we were doing things by hand with the park district, I guess we aren't now, though, are we, Clyde? We got tractors and machines and everything. But when the commissioners were out there scratching around in the dirt, Charlie said one night if we had the Creekside Park all ready for grass. Gazebo was built, the sidewalks are in, and Charlie at the meeting said, well, you know, if we would put down the sod ourselves, lay the sod ourselves, we could get it done just as cheap as if we hire somebody to seed it, somebody to scrape it off and seed it, get the ground all ready and so forth. And he said, don't worry about it. We'll get the kids from one of the football teams to come in and help us. So the semi-load of sod came at, I don't know, it came the night before. I guess it did, because it was sure there at 8 o'clock the next morning. Semi-load of this stuff, you know. And where are the football team, Charlie? Oh, don't worry about them. They'll be here. They'll be here. So just, you know, Razuska, Scotty Razuska, John Anderson, David Anderson, Vince Beggs, and John Miles. We laid sod all day. And guess what Charlie was doing? He was politicking about half the day. Talking? Yeah, very good. And one of the things that came out of that during this, we had a superintendent of parks at that time, the first one we ever hired. And she saw Charlie standing there doing all this talking, so I guess she thought that she should talk too. Well, she decided to resign in the middle of the day that day, and we never have seen her since, I guess, have we, Charlie? Charlie could get away with that. Martha has a little something she wants to pass along. Okay, Martha?
I finally found my name tag. Well, I'm so glad that all of you could come and help us roast Chuck tonight. And I'm really glad I had the timer. And I'm sure that you should all be very glad I had the timer. Let me tell you, it's the best thing. Chuck is long-winded. I wouldn't want to say that. But I will say that Roland has called a few times at our meetings to make sure that I'm still okay. They go kind of late. So I wanted, before we get too busy roasting, I want to tell Kathy thank you very much for the good job you did getting over there tonight. This is good. All the creative touches were Kathy. You did a great job. Thank you very much. I want to tell you that Chuck was responsible for broadening my horizons to some degree. 3 years ago, he asked me to run for the board. One meeting a month, he said.
The thing like
Yeah. Now, this is true. There is one meeting a month, at least. Every month, at least one. And so it was not untrue what he said. Of course, my reading material has changed considerably, and my home office has run its over. But it is at least one meeting a month. He didn't go into any more detail than that, and I've learned a lot since then. You've asked more detail. I thought back a little bit to my first dealings with the park district when it was new, and I remember that the first meeting I went to, they were meeting at the elementary school, and a contingent of people from the Historical Society went over, and we begged for a place to put the Rush House because it had to be moved. And we were asking that it be relocated in the Oakwood site. And there were a lot of problems with that because the Park District didn't own the property and the village didn't own the property, and it was kind of up in the air. But they agreed to work it out. And I really think that this mindset of being able to work things out, trying to make things work for the park and for the community is the thing that I appreciate most about the park district. And I think that the Historical Society certainly appreciates the open-mindedness, and I think that it's been good for the park district to broaden the scope some. And a couple of years ago, I never would have dreamed that we'd be saying goodbye to Chuck tonight. I mean, it seems kind of sudden. And I guess it's just a constant struggle of acting and reacting, and I hope that the park board now and the ones in the future will be able to keep up this tradition of excellence that I think has been established. And it's amazing, really, that we can do that with one meeting a month. We can keep all this going. So I want to say thank you very much, Chuck. It's been fun, and roast on.
Thank you, Martha. Lou Miato has a few things he'd like to tell us about, I guess, from his experience of working at Charlie on the Veterans Memorial.
Like you said, though, he's got friends and family here, so a lot of that's going to have to put aside.
Okay, go ahead and tell us about it.
I came to the Park District with an idea to build something here in the village. That's the first time I met Chuck. And I went to him, I talked to him, told him what I had to do, told him what I wanted to do. He gave me a whole list of rules. Rules that I figured, hey, I'm Italian, I don't need these rules, I'll do what I want. No way. It's got to be done this way. That's it. So we worked together. I got to know the man. And when it came time to run for the village or park board, I talked to Chuck, and he kind of turned me in different directions. And I got to know the man deeper and the functions of the park, and there's things that he brought to my life that I know now bettered me as a person. And for that, I thank Chuck. People who have been with him or associated with him longer than I have know some of the more seedy things about him. What I found out about him, I don't want to mention. I know he can't keep sheep in Winfield, though. So what I've done is I've come up with something to give to Chuck from me. So you can have this for yourself. What I've done here, I've given Charlie his own little memorial to take home. I tried to do the gazebo. No way. This was a lot simpler, trust me. So this is for you. And in the future, since you've managed to take care of all the big tasks in the village, what you contributed to the people of Winfield, I'm going to give you just this little hammer for the little jobs left in your life. Oh, by the way, Chuck, that memorial's like the one in the park. There's no lights on it either. I know. I started that out. And now the lights are on the wrong side, I know.
We have some more of Charlie's neighbors here, and they have a little tribute I think they want to give to Charlie, or a little something or other. So it's the Frasers, the Commerces, the Muellers, and anybody else who wants to get in the act, as far as I know. Have at it.
I told you to watch out for the plastic.
I don't know. I thought this was a roast. Yeah. And up till now, everybody's been pretty. Okay. And we're all here tonight to give you all a little insight into Chuck Beggs, the man. First of all, I'd like to introduce all of us. This is Sharon and Ron Thomas, Barb and Bill Mueller, and I'm Donna Fraser and my husband, John. Okay, and we feel that we're more than qualified to help you know the real Chuck, as we've been fortunate to be his friends for a combined total of 150 years. Believe me, we wouldn't pass up this opportunity tonight to get even. I mean to honor him. We'd like to show you several pictures from our personal files that we feel are priceless. Besides, Chuck didn't have enough money to buy the negatives. So are you ready, Chucky?
Okay. I can imagine.
No, we have to take that. You got to see your face, Chuck.
All right.
Okay, picture number one.
God, I can imagine.
Chuck was always very large for his age, and this is a picture of him blowing out his first birthday cake.
Billy.
But seriously, here he is, the founding father of the Park District. Who can believe that this sweet child is the same person we're honoring tonight? In the pictures that follow, you will see that everything he has done in his life has prepared him for the position he has held for 14 years.
It's got a ruler. That's almost as cute as this one.
Sure, we're ready. The first thing he had to work on was his image. As you can see, in his high school graduation picture, on the advice from his image consultant, he has since lost the bow tie.
The next one shows Chuck in Vegas on a fact-finding mission. We're not sure what the thumbs up means. Either he just got lucky with Florence Henderson, or he lost all his money and is trying to get home. You decide. Do you like it?
Looks like Elvis.
have made it home with Lee. Every civic leader needs a loyal wife and best friend. And to stand beside him.
That's just a nice picture.
Some of these things mean more to Chuck than they will the rest of you.
Chuck decided he needed to be closer to nature. He followed in the footsteps of his ancestors, took paddle in hand, and the rest is history. Here he's giving guided tours up flooded Winfield Creek, this time with a paddle.
What can we say about that? Okay, by this time, he had 2 more mouths to feed, Vince and Kim. Here's proof that Chuck would never pass up a free lunch. He traveled all the way to Battle Creek, Michigan for a free box of cereal. At least it's more than just 1 pork chop.
Beer in there.
Pork chop.
I heard that.
As you all know, Chuck has taken an interest in the people of Winfield. It only followed that he would start arranging trips and excursions for various groups. Here is pictured taking a group of underprivileged Winfieldites to a Grateful Dead concert. You know, we never did get to see that concert.
Yeah, we never got our money back either. First thing Chuck did as Park District President was to put in a pool, because nobody knew that. He just never told anybody where it was. There's a picture of him instructing the first canine synchronized water.
Chuck's interest in children made him instrumental in developing classes to benefit their welfare. Here he is promoting a Park District program on the dangers of taking candy from strangers.
I wouldn't admit it.
It's your dad.
That was you.
Okay.
That's you.
I see the resemblance.
Show that to Chuck first.
He knows.
Oh, God.
We'll start the picture. Okay. Now that Chuck is no longer involved with the Park District, he'll have more time to pursue his past occupation as an Elvis impersonator. You can catch him at his first engagement. signing autographs at the grand opening of the new Winfield Kmart.
If there's something you didn't quite understand in our program, I'm sure Chuck would be more than happy to explain it all to you. And we'll keep the pictures up here so you all get a chance to look at them later. Lastly, we were going to bring our drinks up here, and we didn't, but we'll toast you without our drinks, Chuck. Here's to you, Chuck. This time we'll take the meatballs.
Kathy told me there would be hundreds of others that would want to talk. Now's your chance. Seriously, would anybody else like to add a few words? We got a couple of minutes. I'll just say a couple of words. You can't ever keep a politician down, you know that.
Funny you should mention that. When I first moved into the neighborhood, I moved kitty corner from Chuck. My wife and I, Kathy, lived in what used to be the Sally Knight house. And I thought the welcoming committee was going to come out and greet us when they saw us back up with our pickup truck. It was kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies going to Beverly Hills. And here comes Chuck Beggs over to greet us, and I thought for sure he was coming to welcome us to say hello, but all he really wanted to know was if I was a Democrat. Because he had heard that I was Hispanic, and he assumed immediately that I was a Democrat. Boy, this is exactly what we need, another Democrat in the neighborhood. Well, when he found out I was a Republican, he went over and cried for 3 days. But a lot of people wonder just how much Chuck Beggs has really contributed to the economy of Winfield. Just to let you know what an impact this gentleman has had on our economy in Winfield. Since he retired from the Park District, 2 newspapers have folded up and closed their doors.
I'd have done it sooner if I'd have known that.
But rumor has it that Chuck's going to run again.
Oh, God.
And I'll tell you, there's another rumor going around. Stan Ziegel has already ejected your petitions. He's also been a great philosopher and leader, as everyone's pointed out here tonight who's spoken. He helped quite a bit with the Chicago Bears. I have a letter here from Mike Dickey, who couldn't make it tonight, and wanted me to thank you very much for all the advice you gave him on the Dallas game. He says, next year, could you please help the opposition instead of us? He's also very helpful to me in my political career. As you know, I'm running for an office, and I won't tell you which one, but you'll see my signs all over town very soon. I called him up and I said, Chuck, how would you feel about putting up a sign in your yard for me? And he says, well, go ahead and do what you want. He says, but it won't get you many votes in my neighborhood. Listen, I've always said that about Chuck. He's very, very honest. I once asked him how he could possibly sleep at night with all the criticisms he takes and all the times he gets put in the newspaper with all those bad things being said about him. He says he sleeps just like a baby. He wakes up every 3 hours and he cries. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be very, very saddened by this because of all the years you served with the Park District, I never once got a chance to go up there and see you in action. I'll tell you, somebody else is going to miss you too because Stan's got nothing to do now at night. Congratulations, enjoy.
Do we have any other volunteers?
Hi, my name is Marty Burke. My high-quality name tag is back there. Had a little presentation for Chuck tonight, and I don't know a lot of funny stories about Chuck. I'm sorry. I've got kind of a cold. My daughter brought it in the house. She got it at the pre-kindergarten. So I like to call it the influenza building. You wrote I didn't really know how this was going to turn out tonight. I've laughed a lot, which is surprising because I've never really found you particularly amusing. And like I said, I don't know Chuck that well. He comes into the village hall very often, but that is the purpose for locks on doors. I've got a good one. But I do have an award here for you. Now, before you get too excited, this is not the award for the world's ugliest municipal building. The Village Hall and the Park District building are in competition in the state. But the award has not been given yet. What the award says, basically, is from the Village of Winfield, and it's in recognition of dedicated service to the Winfield Park District and the Village of Winfield. This award is presented to Charles Beggs, 1976 to 1992. Chuck was on our Plan Commission back in '76. We've researched, we've got some of the minutes from back then. Not a lot of other people were talking in those minutes, but we know that he served, and congratulations on your retirement.
What do you mean? I'm not even up there yet.
I believe we're represented by the Fourth Estate.
The only press left weekly yet in the area.
Have at it.
We decided even though he is leaving, we're still going to stay. My name is Kathy Schaefer. There's something about being a part of the press that's always perplexed me. I walk into a room, everyone shuts up and leaves. I call somebody on the phone, they suddenly have a death in the family and can't talk to me. I ask a simple question like, why can't you explain to me your budget line for line? And I'm told to go get a real job. But Chuck was always different. He always got back to me, and he always had an answer. Some of those more memorable answers were, no comment, that's just a rumor, none of your business. If you find out yourself, please let me know. And how about if I write the story for you, and maybe you'll get it right this time. But I must say that writing about the Park District the past 5 or 6 years that we've been around probably would have been rather boring had it not been for Chuck. And I think we kind of kept each other on our toes. Congratulations.
And do we have anybody else?
Yeah. Good. First meeting. A nice man came to our meeting from the County Board of Elections and says, before I swear you in, we have to have terms. There are 5 of you, and he said, we'll be a 1 2-year term, 2 4-year terms, and 2 6-year terms. We put the numbers in the pot. And lucky me, I pulled out the 2, and I just had a big smile from ear to ear.
Yeah, I remember that.
Chuck pulls out, he says, this is not a term, this is a sentence. And after 14 years, Chuck, I'm glad you're out on parole.
Well, go ahead. Were you sleeping tonight?
That's why I brought one.
Your arm's too short?
No, I got these.
Oh.
Oh, this is so much better. This is my dad's great idea of how to improve your vision by mail order. They're $39.95, and all you have to do is call 1-800 A Bitter Eyesight Chuck. I had to do this. He does use them, by the way. He does use them. My father has always been, he's always had this great open door policy for, you know, in case you had a problem or anything like that, you always knew you could come and talk to him. But the major thing that I always remembered was his open door policy was, if you don't like it, there's the door. He also has always implied, well, you made your bed, now lie in it. Except I often see him sleeping on the couch nowadays.
easy, Charlie. This is easy. And do we have anybody else following that? Bud, you're ready to go home. I can tell. Well, Charlie, we all know what you did. That's all over the board, up here, all over the thing, you know. We all know how you did it because we were there, you know. And we don't know why, but you don't get to tell us tonight. You don't have time. Have a good retirement. Thank you. Well, whether anybody likes it or not, I am going to say it. We're out of time. We got to leave. There was two reasons for me sitting here. One is if it got rough, I could get out fast, and the other one is you can't get faster because I'm too big. But you're stuck. I'm very honored by all the wonderful cards and letters and phone calls and this today. This is just, you know, something that's greater than I could ever have imagined. But this didn't happen to Winfield by one person. This happened by a lot of people putting a lot of time and effort together. First commissioners, as was talked about tonight, the people that were behind the scenes that helped us put the Park District together originally, and all the people that have worked for the Park District and have served on the boards all through this time. Those are the people that made it what it is today. Not one person. I thank you for all the accolades and the barbs and everything else. But it took all of it, and that's what makes Winfield a great place to live, is that there are people like you here that are willing to go out and get the damn job done. And I think as long as Winfield continues to have that kind of people living here, it'll continue to be a great place to live. I have to thank some people who have put up with a lot of things. One, my mother. For many years, when the Park District first started, the equipment and that were all kept at her house. And George, who was the first person that I had hired when we got to the point of having to maintain the parks, used to go over and pick up the equipment at my mother's house. Whenever he got a scratch or a cut, Grandma Beggs, the nurse, would doctor up George. Also, my family, who has sacrificed a bit of time over the years. And I appreciate what they've put up with. They've listened to me talk about this Park District for many, many years. I've tried to stay away from it now, but it still comes out from time to time. It's going to be a long time before it's gone. I just thank you all. You've been wonderful people to work with. You're friends as far as I'm concerned. You're just great people. And when you talk to Mary Lee, tell her I send her a big kiss. She was a wonderful person. She was always cheerful and made it all work. I appreciate it. And I think a hand goes out to all the people, to you, for what you've done, and the past board and the board that started this. So let's give everybody a hand.